Welcome to a new episode of TTG Conversations 5 Questions video series. I'm Karen Yu, Group Editor of TTG Asia Media. This episode is all about tourism villages, and we will find out why there is value in developing them. Taking us through this topic is Sandra Carvao, Chief of Tourism, Markets Intelligence and Competitiveness at UNWTO. Welcome to the show, Sandra.
Thank you very much, Karen. It's a pleasure to be with you.
I got 5 questions for you, and here's the first. UNWTO launched its Best Tourism Villages initiative in 2021. What motivated the creation of this initiative to identify the world's most outstanding and beneficial tourism villages?
Thank you, Karen. Well, I think it was a combination of factors. On one hand, this work actually started before the pandemic. In 2020, our Secretary General has designated the Year of Tourism and Rural Development. So we started working on this area, and obviously in March, unfortunately, we all know what happened. COVID emerged and impacted all our lives in our sector. But we still continue to work. So we celebrated World Tourism Day on that topic in 2020. And at the same time, we issued a set of recommendations for governments because we really believe that there was a huge opportunity to maximize how tourism can help rural areas to improve their well-being, to retain population, to create new jobs, to improve even agriculture. Because it revives a lot of traditions and a lot of products. At the same time, we have the G20 presidency, which was by then led by Saudi Arabia. There was a document that came out, which is the Alula Framework for Community Development through Tourism, which also identified a series of areas that needed to be improved to actually make tourism an area of development. And so with all that in mind, we said, okay, how can we actually bring about the value of rural tourism, bring the importance of villages to countries, because the initiative actually is directed to our member states. So the villages that apply come through the ministries of tourism, because we are believing that we need higher level engagement also, because there's a lot of issues that come infrastructure, education, and all others which need to be settled at national level. And then we thought, why not really create a network of villages around the world that can actually not only be recognized, but also learn from each other. So the initiative was launched in 2021, and the best tourism villages are recognized. They are evaluated on 9 areas, but it's not just that. After that, they become part of a network. So by now we have more than 100 villages working together around the world and learning from each other. So the beauty of it as well is that you have villages in Vietnam and in Switzerland and in Colombia actually working together to advance this agenda.
I think it's a brilliant idea. Now, UNWTO relies on member states to submit potential tourism villages for consideration. So how has the response been over the past 2 editions?
Very good. We've had in these 2 years more than 300 candidacies. It is important to say that it's a very detailed candidacy process. There's 9 areas of evaluation that go from infrastructure, issues of sustainability, economic, social, and environmental. Also, obviously, all the natural and cultural resources, what is done to preserve them and to promote them, what kind of policies the village has. Do they coordinate with other areas? Do they promote women empowerment? So everything is detailed. So I would say it's not an easy task to do the candidacy, but we had more than 300 so far. This year, we have extended the number of villages that countries can present. So in the first 2 editions, we had 3 per country maximum. And this year, each country can actually present 8. So it will obviously also give the opportunity to more villages. It's also very interesting because we see that within the countries themselves, it creates a movement around this topic. Because in some countries, they do the same process internally, which also allows them even to coordinate with different villages and then have national projects. Actually, India just launched something called Best Tourist Villages competition. So we see that actually what we wanted is to raise the awareness of the importance of rural tourism and obviously empower the village and give them tools to improve. And that has been very rewarding.
That's wonderful. And why is supporting rural development so important?
Well, on two sides. One, we're seeing that rural populations suffer the most in terms of access to digital infrastructure, to normal infrastructure, to health services, to anything that has to do also with education and resources. So if we can have tourism as one of the means that can support them in creating income, but also retaining population, we're seeing in many countries how rural areas are losing population. So we need to create opportunities for the young people to stay or to return and build new projects. And tourism is definitely one of those areas, particularly today with digital. You can actually reach new markets, you can position yourself, and you can invest in that area. And on the other side, it's also a national strategy. We don't want concentration in certain areas. So rural tourism allows at the same time to diversify your demand within the territory, benefiting everyone, and also ensuring that there's territorial cohesion so that one area is obviously also benefiting from economic development.
Mhm, mhm. Now, tourism can be a double-edged sword, and is there a risk of, tourism villages becoming too commercialized and losing themselves as they get very successful with tourists?
Well, one of the concerns that we had, obviously, when setting up the program was that we have, first of all, an advisory board that is the one that does the evaluation of the villages. So UNWTO does not interfere into that process. It's an independent body that does that. And we had a lot of discussions at the beginning because of that. And for us, this is the importance of the 9 areas of evaluation. And in them, there's always a component of how do they manage their carrying capacity, how they empower the community. And for us, it's obviously also working with them because they've become part of our network on a regular basis to ensure that there is a development that benefits the community, but obviously does not bring what could be unwanted impacts in terms of social infrastructure, but also in terms of cultural shocks. So for us, it's very important, that component. It's actually one of the areas that we evaluate.
Okay. And the Best Tourism Villages by UNWTO initiative also includes this very interesting upgrade program for villages that are very close to making the mark in the evaluation process. I think that's a great idea. Can you tell us more about the support that's available to help villages qualify?
Sure. So what happens is the villages which are selected for the label of best tourism villages are the ones that match a certain score. And then what we do is the following 20 villages go into an upgrade program, which represents basically a direct mentoring that we have a team working with them on their specific issues, looking obviously into the gaps that were identified in their candidacy and trying to see how they can improve it. At the same time, they also benefit from the network. So the network is not only best tourism villages, but also the ones in the upgrade, which at the same time allows them to learn from each other. They have activities every month. So on one month, we do exchange of best practices. And on the second month, we do training. We've been doing training on social media. We're doing training on the integration of agriculture with tourism. So on different areas that can actually help them also improve.
Mm-hmm. So can these villages reapply for candidacy once they qualify?
They need to go through obviously the mentoring process, right. And they will have then what we call a fast track, because obviously they've been working with us. And once they feel that they are ready to actually reapply, they can do so.
That's wonderful. That's all the questions I have for you, Sandra. Thank you so much for giving us your time.
Thank you, Karen. It's been a pleasure. And well, I invite everyone to discover the best tourism villages and online, and look for the one close to you in your region as well. And really to expand the idea of that through tourism, we can make a difference in rural areas.
I'm sure we will. Well, past and future episodes of TTG Conversations, 5 questions can be found on the TTG YouTube channel. Take care, stay safe, and I'll see you on the next episode. Goodbye.